Monaghan comes away with it, not very far. Referee blows the one-time whistle, and Kerry are in the All-Ireland final on the 21st of September.
It's all over. The unbeatable team have been beaten. The All-Ireland champions are out. They have been knocked out by Donegal. A tactical masterclass by the great Jim McGuinness, and Donegal celebrate because they are heading back to the All-Ireland final. They won it in 2012. Kerry will be their opponents next month.
Thanks for listening to this All-Ireland football final betting preview, brought to you by John Mulholland Bookmakers, the better for the GAA.
Welcome to this inaugural John Mulholland preview of this All-Ireland Football Championship between Kerry and Donegal. My name is Kevin Breslin, weekly columnist with the Galway Independent and odds compiler with John Mulholland's. With me is Alan Mulholland. Of course, you should know him as the Galway manager up to this year. He took on Kerry in the quarter-finals. He's also a former player for Galway and the managing director of John Mulholland's. Now, Alan, we're going to look at this game in detail. We're going to see the tactics, the betting itself, and how this game is going to be won and lost. First off, both teams, Donegal, were 25-1 at one stage in this championship. Kerry, 12-1 before the Munster final. First off, do you think these are the best two teams to be in the final, or do you think these are the best two managed teams to be in the final? Is it the coaches that got here, or is it the players?
Well, first of all, are they the best two teams in the country? Well, you'd have to say they are, seeing that they're both in the All-Ireland final. But, you know, Mayo guys would be very disappointed. I think the first day, the drawn match, I think, they left it behind them. They're really 5 points up with time nearly up. They should have seen that out probably. So, and Dublin, you know, did Donegal play very well, or were Dublin poor in the semi-final? Not too sure. So, look, we'd have to say they are the best two teams, but you know, I think Mayo and Dublin would be kicking themselves at this stage. So they're what's left, and definitely the standard of football this year so far. I think we're in for a great game, Kev.
Let's see, the two managers are getting a lot of kudos here. Of course, Jim is now Jim the Redeemer, but Eamon Fitzmaurice, listen, this man is a tactical genius as well, in my opinion. You've managed Galway up against Kerry. You've seen these boys first up. So let's dive into the match, Alan. First up, how do you see both teams setting up?
It's hard to tell, particularly with Donegal, in that Jim likes to keep his cards close to his chest. So you'd imagine that he's going to set out fairly similar to the Dublin game. Probably employing Rory Kavanagh around the middle of the field with Oran McNeilis and Neil Gallagher. So they would like to try and win a lot of possession around midfield there, leaving Michael Murphy and Cole McFadden inside, and Ryan McHugh coming from deep and trying to lose the wing back if he can. What Kerry do in response to that? Do they play Declan O'Sullivan? Do they not? Does Mark O'Shea come in for Shane Enright? I'd say that he probably will start Mark O'Shea there. What do they do then with Killian Young then? Do they play him in front of the full back line there? Do they push someone back out on Rory Kavanagh and play three across the middle and leave two versus two inside? I'd say not. I'd imagine that Kerry will try and play an extra defender there in the full back line. They'll continue with the system they have had with Donncha Walsh and Michael Guiney coming back, playing deep, a lot of players behind the ball and trying to attack Donegal on the counter as quick as they can. That's kind of Donegal's game as well. So, who's better at this counter-attack football? That's what it's going to come down to, I think.
Yeah, the best way to beat Donegal, I reckon, is to mirror the system. That's where Dublin, many people feel Jim Gavin fell down, is he basically had his team. He says, we're going to beat them in a shootout. We've got the forwards. Left gaping holes at the back. Donegal run through them. You said Joy Thompson scored a great goal against Kerry. Mayo had joy as well when they started running up, and especially in the second half of the first match. Eamon Fitzmaurice started throwing the textbook out. There's no more of these open training sessions. This notion of the Kerry way. Have we a chance? We've had two brilliant semi-finals. Have we a chance that this could turn into quite a dour, cagey game?
I don't think so. In that you mentioned there, running at the Kerry defence is probably the best way to attack them. As you said, we in our quarter final against them, Tom scored a great goal running right through the middle. I think Killian Lung was playing centre back then. I think they have acknowledged that in that they changed their centre back to Peter Crowley after that. Talking to some of the Kerry lads down there, they do acknowledge they have a bit of a problem when people run at them down through the middle. And guess what? That's exactly what Donegal do all day long. So I think it's going to be very difficult for them to handle the Donegal attack. I think they're going to come under pressure they probably haven't come under to date. It's the Donegal way is to run at defences, and for that reason, I actually think Donegal will probably are justifiable favourites here, but possible too hot at 4-6 and 13-8 the betting.
Yeah, we'll get into more of that there. So you basically think Kerry halfbacks, will they sit back? You don't see them bombing forward like Dublin, the committed men forwards. Do you think that Fionn Fitzgerald, the likes of them, they won't be going past the 45 line?
Well, someone's going to be given a detail to mark Ryan McHugh. So he's whether he finds himself up in the forward line, possibly Fionn Fitzgerald, Paul Murphy. I'm not sure who would pick up Ryan McHugh, but definitely they're going to have to do a man-to-man job on him, you'd imagine. I don't think it's the Kerry way that the wing backs are bombing forward. They like to drop the wing forwards deep and let them come at the attack, and plus the midfield coming through too. So I think they're the transition, Kerry's transition from defence into attack is where they like to speed that up as quick as they can, using the foot pass as much as they can, getting it into James O'Donoghue and Paul Guiney as quickly as possible, and that's the way that they have won games to date.
Yeah, you mentioned Ryan McHugh, who's actually completely odds on. He's 1-33 for a young player of the year. Scored 2 goals against Dublin, man of the match against Dublin that day as well. If you looked at your game, Michael Lundy had serious joy running down the wings there. Who do you think Kerry's going to detail on Ryan McHugh?
Like either Paul Murphy or Fionn Fitzgerald, possibly even Killian Young going out there maybe on him, but I'm not sure. Like either, I think maybe Ryan was a little bit under the radar with Dublin. They probably were a little bit too cocky in that they thought they just, as you said, play their own game and attack from the half-back position, and they lost sight of McHugh at times. He's very difficult to keep a handle on for the full 70 minutes. He's got an engine like Mark McHugh, really. So he's able to get back and he's able to get up in attack very quickly as well. And obviously Dublin lost sight of him a few times during the match. But I think his cover is blown a little bit now. He's going to be a marked man, so it'll be interesting to see if he can repeat the performance the next day.
So that's the Donegal attack. We've got to go to the other key battle area on the match, and that is going to be the Kerry full forward line against the Donegal full back line, and that's coming up next.
Goal chance, McHugh! Goal! Donegal lead! Ryan McHugh is screaming for it. McHugh is in after a goal again! He ghosted into position. Donegal have a new hero from one of the most famous Donegal families in Gaelic football.
Remember, if you place a first goal scorer bet with John Mulholland and the player goes on to score another goal in the match, we'll double your odds.
Alan, looking at the stats, one stat that jumped out at me big time was, in the whole championship to date, the Donegal full back line or the opposition's full forward line have only scored a goal and 5 points in all the matches combined. Donegal have done an unbelievable job in the last couple of weeks. The Brogans, O'Gara's taken out of the last day. If you look at the Derry game there, even against McManus against Monaghan, admittedly Monaghan did keep too many back and kind of left the full forwards totally isolated, but it's been a symptom of this Donegal team back in 2012 and again this year that the full backs totally dominate the opposition's full forward lines. It's going to be the McGee's against O'Donoghue's, and first off point, do you think Kerry will play Kieran Donaghy up at full forward?
I do. I think he'll come under severe pressure to play him. Donaghy haven't done so well against Mayo, but I think though maybe there's a little bit of a diversion thing going on here. Like James O'Donoghue and Donaghy are getting a lot of the press here. I know in our game, I think before half time, all of the Kerry forwards had scored. So it's not just a James O'Donoghue show here, and Kieran Donaghy. Like, Johnny Buckley's able to pick up scores, so is Donncha Walsh, Michael Guiney to a lesser extent, but definitely Paul Guiney, and then David Moran pops up with a couple of points as well. So while Donoghue and Donaghy are getting all the attention, these other forwards are able to score well too. So, I think with the Mayo game, he's going to have to play Donaghy again. What I liked about it was, it wasn't just Route 1 football in there. James O'Donoghue and Paul Guiney, it was Donaghy was there, and then you had either Donoghue and Paul Guiney or Donoghue and Barry John Kane outside, and it wasn't just a one-trick pony here. It was they were running it, and to the vast majority of their play was running it through those lines, and then very rarely actually did they kick the ball in high into Donaghy. But because he was in there all the time, he was always a threat, and that created the space for Donoghue and for Guiney or Barry John Kane outside. So I think he's brought a great variation. That's it. Donaghy has brought a great variation to the Kerry attack, and you have to be careful, for the high ball coming in, and you have to also, watch the running game as well. So, I think for that reason, I think he'll stick with what he's come up with against Mayo there.
Okay, that's Donaghy. James Donoghue, of course, is the favourite on the goal scorer markets. 5-1 to score the first goal, 11-2 to be man of the match. Keith Higgins had a savage game against him in the last two games in the semi-finals, yet O'Donoghue still scored 3-9 in the two games combined. This is going to be the key battle. Neil McGee against James O'Donoghue. Who do you see winning that one?
I think you mentioned man of the match there, and it was obvious the last day that David Moran was man of the match. I think, he had maybe 15 more possessions than the next nearest guy, yet James O'Donoghue got man of the match. So I think when you're backing man of the match, you got to bear in mind who's hot at the moment and who's in people's heads and who's going to score, because by and large it's the guy who ends up with the most on the scoreboard who gets man of the match here. So for that reason, I'd be favouring James O'Donoghue or the likes of a Ryan McHugh or a Michael Murphy. It's rare that they give it to a midfielder or a back. Who's going to win the battle between James O'Donoghue and Neil McGee? You think it'd be Neil McGee taking him up?
No, there is a chance that James O'Donoghue could come out back into the half forward line. He's not going to get much ball if Donegal get their tactics right. You may see him playing more out in the half forward line. Of course, Donegal plays zonal, so you wouldn't imagine Neil McGee would come out with him. It'll be the job then of Frank McGlynn or Carl Lacey or something like that to pick him up. But yeah, if he stays into the full forward line, it looks like it will be him against Neil McGee.
Yeah, I think as well with Rory Kavanagh around the midfield, like against Mayo, they left Donaghy in full forward for the whole game. I could see Donaghy coming out to midfield as well. If they play three across the middle there, someone to pick up Rory Kavanagh or McNeilish there, definitely for periods of the game. I think sometimes against Mayo, Donoghue probably played further out the field than he'd normally be accustomed to, because Kieran Donaghy was on the edge of the square the whole time. So I think he's more of a threat for goals, definitely, if he's inside there. So he could vary it during the game, maybe coming out for periods while Donaghy's inside and going inside if Donaghy comes out to midfield. Who's going to mark him? He's got such pace, he's got such ball control. It's as long as they can get a little bit of space for him. If Donegal go 1-on-1, I think they're dicing with death there. That if they want to leave Neil McGee on his own with him, I think they'll have to put somebody in front of him as well. And maybe that could be Frank McGlynn or that could be Anthony Thompson. I'm not sure, but he's a handful, definitely.
Yeah, he's a handful, but I've kind of got away with which way you're going. So we're going to go into the markets itself. Donegal 4-6, the draw 8-1, Kerry 13-8. The handicaps, there's various ones, but the main one is Donegal minus the point. So you're sort of taking out the draw if you're backing Kerry there at +1, 11-10. You're leaning north or south here?
I'm leaning north. But you know what? As we get closer to the game, I'm wondering, is there a little bit of an overreaction to the Dublin game? Donegal did play well, but look, I know you're a Donegal man, but if Dublin had got either of those goals, it was going to be totally different. If they got both of them in the first half, it was over. The game was over at half time, and there were 2 goals that they should have got. Like the pass from O'Gara into Brogan was a poor pass, should have executed that better and should have been a goal. And Jim Connolly was apologising to all his teammates when he was running out from having missed the open goal chance in the first half too. So, and then what I think happened in the second half was I think Dublin lost the plot a bit and they stopped playing. I think they'll be very disappointed with their performance. I know everybody's raving about Donegal, but Dublin, were very poor in that second half and looks like the pressure got to them. So anyway, I have said I do fancy Donegal. I haven't said all of that, but I think 4-6, 13-8 is a little bit of an overreaction. I'd be thinking more 10-11, 11-10. Probably should be the betting. So I do think Donegal will sneak it, but if I was looking for value, I couldn't go away from the 13-8 Kerry there. I think that's too good value. Having said that, I do fancy Donegal to win it. 4-6 is too hot for me. I would be looking at something like the Donegal half-time, full-time then, because if things go to plan for Donegal, they usually try to get ahead early, keep the opposition at arm's length, hit them on the counter. They will try to start like they started against Mayo 2 years ago, all guns blazing. They could get ahead early on. They'll like to keep that lead. So rather than the 4-6 to win the match, if I was back in Donegal, I'd be back in the 6-4 half-time, full-time.
Okay, popular bet with the GA punters is the total points. And that's why I was kind of going to get to your how you see this game getting playing out. My personal view on this is I think it is going to be cagey. I think there is going to be park the bus mentality. The line set at the moment 34.5 points. That means both sides around the 17-point mark. Scoring wise, I think we'll be closer to the Donegal Monaghan game in last year's Ulster final, or not quite Donegal Dublin 2011. People did say the same though about that Donegal Dublin in the semi-final the last day. Donegal scored 3-14. Just say points margin 34.5 points. Would you be seeing that overs or unders in that one?
Over. I disagree with you. I think Jim is beginning to believe his own publicity here. I think he's he wants to be the complete coach. He is disappointed with his image of being defensively minded, and I think the game definitely against Dublin has showed that he wants to not only win All-Ireland but win All-Ireland playing attractive football. Kerry will score always. So I think they're going to come out. I think the 2 semi-finals point that way. That's probably a surefire message that the final is going to be dull and drab. However, I do think that I think that both teams are going to try and attack here and score goals. Definitely, it was Donegal's mission. You hear reports that Jim was the mantra was we're going to score 3 goals against Dublin. I think they will want to score goals against Kerry, and definitely Kerry will want to score goals against Donegal.
So is that why Ryan McHugh hit that last one over the bar? He wanted to stay with the 3.
The pride of Kerry. He is the man, James O'Donoghue. 2 goals and 6 points for O'Donoghue.
Right, we are going to move on to the final slot. We've got 3 picks, folks. You can listen back to this after the match and see who was right. Alan's going to give his, I'm going to give mine. We're going to go for the 3 bets. First goal scorer, winning margin, so obviously we'll know which team you're going for in that one. And then with the way we've looked at the game, how the game is going to develop, we'll have our pick for the man of the match. We'll start with the first goal scorer. We're looking at the value here. We've got Michael Murphy 13-2, Colin McFadden 8, Ryan McHugh 11-1, Odin McNeilis 14s. On the Kerry side, James Donoghue 5s, Paul Ganey up at 11s, Kieran Donaghy up at 11s, Donica Walsh at 20s, and of course John Mulholland doubling the odds if the player scores the first and the second, just like we did Ryan McHugh. Crazy odds, Alan. We was 66-1. We ended up paying out at 132-1. Killian O'Connor scored 2 goals as well. In the Mayo match, we ended up paying out 10-1 on that one. So there's a bingo there for the punters. Who's your pick for the first goal scorer?
I'm going to go for a little bit of value here. Like the obvious one is James O'Donoghue or Michael Murphy here. However, I think someone that may be a little bit under the radar is Paul Ganey. He's an extremely talented footballer. Hasn't probably got the recognition that his talents deserve just yet. With all the attention on Donoghue and Donaghy in that full forward line, I think he's got the ability definitely to score goals and the quality. So at 14-1, He's at first goal scorer.
11
to 1. That 14 to 1 was man of the match, but 11 to 1. I think he represents a bit of value, and I think he's as good a chance as the others of hitting the net first.
I think that's a good point. Yeah, looking for value elsewhere. Look, my pick, I think Ryan McHugh, as you mentioned, will be detailed. I think, but the Donegal running way is the way to get through. And a man who had a great start to the championship, scored a great goal against Derry, another good goal against Antrim. Leo McClune, 18 to 1. We see the little dink kick there. That's how I see the goal. Colin McFadden's form, although he did show a bit of it in the second half, he's looked like a man on heavy legs. Michael Murphy, he could be out in the midfield for most of the match. You're not going to get a great run for your money there. And again, Ryan McHugh, surely he's going to be detailed there. So I go for Leo McClune, 18 to 1. Alan going for Paul Guiney at 11s.
They are actually playing Kerry as well. Like there are other players involved in this. Kevin, you went through the whole Donegal forward line without mentioning a Kerry guy there. Thank you.
Well, I just assumed there that Neil McGee will have James O'Donoghue for breakfast. But we'll go on to the winning margin, and this one I'm a bit reluctant to tip up my own side. But you're going Donegal by how many?
I'm going Donegal by a point. The minimum margin. I will admit that this is a very tight game to call. It's very difficult to come down, absolutely affirmative on either side here. I think everybody is trying to draw lines of form through games that probably didn't make sense in the first place. That Donegal Dublin game, who could have seen that coming? And now everything is decided based on that. That's what I do like about Kerry is the way they've stuck into games. They've held their cool. We came back at them in the quarter-final. They held their heads and pulled away from us again. 5 points down against Mayo, held their heads, got a draw out of it, and held their heads in extra time. So they're not going away in games. So for that reason, I think it's going to be tight. Donegal will stick around there as well. So I will give it to Donegal by the minimum margin.
Yeah, I really couldn't argue with that one. I think Donegal 1 to 3 points at 11 to 4. Kerry to win by 1 to 3, 100 to 30. I really can't see either side winning by 4 or more points in this match. In fact, you look, we've a special, the close encounters one, a draw or either team to win by less than 4 points. That's 4 to 7. So it's 5 to 4 that it doesn't occur. I think it's really going to be right down to the wire there. And the final one, man of the match. Always a good one here. We've even bet actually on RT man of the match nominations, of course, the top 3. But go for your winner. Who are you fancying there to come out and win this match for Donegal?
Yeah, look, we're assuming Donegal are going to win, so we'll have to give it to a Donegal man. Now, I will give the health warning in that I think RTE got it wrong in the Kerry Mayo game. David Moran was definitely man of the match, and they gave it to James O'Donoghue. So you got to be careful with this one here. I think Donegal, if they win, obviously they get man of the match, and usually it goes to an attacking player in that circumstance. So look, you're looking at your Michael Murphy's at 7-1, Ryan McHugh at 8-1, Colin McFadden. Maybe even that's really the head of the market there. I would keep it between those 3. And look, I would go for it's not a great choice, but saying I go for the favourite in Donegal, Michael Murphy. I think he's a man for the big time, the big occasion, and the big games. He always comes through for Donegal, and the analysts will be looking to give it to someone that's easily recognisable as well. So for that reason, I'd go for Michael.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. I know Michael got it in 2012, but for me that day, I think Frank McGlynn was my man of the match. But again, you're right, it's very hard for positionals like that. They're looking a man who could stand up on next week. Odin McNeilis, first season, he's having a fantastic season, 12 to 1. Neil Gallagher, probably the unsung hero, Donegal as well, he's 16s. And again, if Neil McGee shuts down James O'Donoghue, who is the Footballer of the Year elect, he should be coming into the reckoning there. But Michael Murphy probably will be the pick there at 7-1. But yeah, I'll throw up Odin McNeilis at 12 to 1. We'll listen back after the match and see how close we are. That's it. Thanks for listening, and check out some of the specials we have on johnmulholland.com for the match.
Fancy a free bet with the Better Better? Quote this podcast when opening a new phone account and we'll match your first bet with a free one up to €50. Ring 1850 722 722 or 091 500 256 for details on this exclusive telebetting offer for our listeners.
Controlled here by Carol Lacey. 45 metres out from the target. beautifully in there to Murphy. Great shot, great goal. 2 minutes and 25 seconds on the clock when he got that. What a start for